welcome message. The old scroll keeper had just finished brushing the dust from a forgotten record when familiar footsteps echoed through the wooden halls, and he could not help but laugh. These wandering daoists truly know how to choose their moments to return. The tea has grown cold from waiting, but the stories from the jianghu are still burning hot. So gather close and hear what new storms are rising among the great clans and immortal paths. Introductory Narration. The ancient chronicles of the Holy Land of Martialism recorded a day when countless young geniuses gathered before the fort, each carrying the pride of their sect and the weight of their destiny. Yet when Chu Feng appeared as the second-ranked challenger after overcoming the trials, he drew the eyes of the entire jianghu, while the four great imperial clans prepared a deadly trap, and a new battle for supremacy began to unfold. An uneasy silence descended upon the passage after hearing the exchange between Xianxia and Chu Feng. Chili Pepper, Big Radish, and Little Radish finally understood the danger hanging over their heads. Their perception might not have been as sharp as Xianxia's, but his words had revealed enough. 5 terrifying waves of oppressive might were crashing down from above, and Chu Feng alone was resisting their combined pressure. Only then did the three realize how enormous a burden they had become. Yet Chu Feng had never complained, never exposed how difficult his situation truly was. He had simply placed the entire weight upon his own shoulders, so they would not be consumed by guilt. This was more than physical endurance. Chu Feng understood that fear and guilt could crush a person more thoroughly than oppressive might. So he concealed his suffering and protected not only their bodies, but also their resolve. Chili Pepper and the others said nothing. Their apologetic expressions spoke in their place, deep within their hearts. However, every sacrifice Chu Feng had made was quietly engraved into memory. Although Chu Feng could withstand the 5 descending forces, he dared not relax for even a breath. He had not crossed countless dangers merely to be eliminated here, nor would he allow this journey to end without reward. There was only one thought in his mind: grit his teeth, unleash his strongest power, and break through the trial before the pressure dragged everyone down. But just as he prepared to leave, the passage suddenly divided into 2 paths.
Really? You choose a moment like this to play such a cheap trick?
Chu Feng laughed lightly. The deception seemed almost insultingly obvious. With a single glance, anyone with decent eyesight could tell that the left passage was genuine, while the right was merely a false road. He knew the left path should lead toward the center of the fort. Even so, when he reached the fork, his gaze involuntarily drifted toward the right. Every hurdle they had encountered so far had been constructed with astonishing intelligence. Beneath their apparent danger lay ingenious designs, hidden mechanisms, and profound intentions. For such a sophisticated trial to suddenly offer an elementary choice at its most crucial point was itself suspicious. Chu Feng did not merely see roads. He examined the mind of the person who had created them. Trusting that instinct, Chu Feng looked deeper into the supposedly false passage. The instant he saw what waited at its end, his eyes blazed with astonishment.
What is that? Am I seeing things?
His shock lasted only a moment before transforming into immense joy.
It's real. The heavens are truly helping me.
Xianxia and the others immediately followed his gaze. At the end of the deep passage stood a great tree, and beneath its spreading crown bloomed an entire bed of golden flowers. Golden branches, golden leaves, golden blossoms, every part shimmered beneath a gorgeous radiance. Stranger still, the branches and leaves resembled tiny human figures, vivid and lifelike, as though a gathering of miniature golden people stood beneath the tree.
What are those?
Although Chili Pepper and the others did not recognize them, the treasure-like aura of the flowers was unmistakable.
They are special treasures known as Golden Leaf World Spirit Flowers.
Golden Leaf World Spirit Flowers.
Simply put, they are extremely beneficial to me.
Without further delay, Chu Feng entered the right passage and hurried toward the flower bed. The road was far deeper than it had appeared. Reaching the end consumed precious time, and every passing moment increased the possibility that Chu Feng would lose one of the 20 fastest positions required to enter the fort's central region. From the perspective of the competition, this detour was reckless, yet Chu Feng's priorities were clear. Victory could be pursued again, but a rare opportunity to save Eggy might never return. The Nine Spirits Divine Diagram recorded that Golden Leaf World Spirit Flowers possessed extraordinary benefits for world spirits. Their energy was comparable to the source energy used by martial cultivators, and absorbing them could greatly increase a world spirit's cultivation. Chu Feng knew what this meant. If he obtained these flowers, he could awaken the sleeping Eggy, and perhaps even help her reach a higher level of cultivation. 20 places awaited at the end of the trial, but when weighed against Eggy, even the chance to compete seemed insignificant. No one understood better than Chu Feng how much she had done for him. In the ruthless world of cultivation, treasures are usually measured by power or wealth. To Chu Feng, however, these flowers were precious because they represented repayment, loyalty, and the hope of restoring a companion who had repeatedly protected him. At last, Chu Feng reached the golden flower bed.
They truly are Golden Leaf World Spirit Flowers.
Yet he did not recklessly stretch out his hand. Instead, he immediately constructed a small world spirit formation and began drawing the flowers into it with extreme care. Golden Leaf World Spirit Flowers possessed intelligence. The moment someone tried to seize them by hand, they would disappear. Even Chu Feng, a snake-mark royal cloak world spiritist, could not simply grasp them without losing the entire opportunity. This was a contest of precision rather than brute force. One careless movement would erase a treasure capable of awakening Eggy. So Chu Feng suppressed his urgency and treated every strand of spirit power as though it were threading a needle. He did not allow his concentration to waver. One by one, the golden flowers entered the formation. Only after the final blossom was secured and the formation completely sealed did Chu Feng release the breath he had been holding. Turning back toward the exit, Chu Feng held the formation carefully in his hand. His eyes remained fixed upon the Golden Leaf World Spirit Flowers, and an unconcealable smile spread across his face. He was certain now, with these flowers, Eggy would awaken.
Those flowers are clearly valuable, but they do not seem particularly useful to martial cultivators.
That is correct. Their true value can only be displayed through world spiritists. Even so, they are priceless treasures. A martial cultivator who obtained them could trade them to a knowledgeable world spiritist for unimaginable wealth. With this entire bed of golden leaf world spirit flowers, I believe a world spiritist who understands their worth would surrender 5 incomplete imperial armaments without the slightest hesitation.
They are really that precious?
Chili Pepper, Big Radish, and Little Radish stared with widened eyes. They carefully examined every golden branch and blossom, as though failing to appreciate the sight would become a lifelong regret. Xianxia offered no further question. He merely smiled. He trusted Chu Feng's judgment, and he trusted the extraordinary eyesight behind it. After leaving the false passage and returning to the left path, everything unfolded exactly as Chu Feng had predicted. Before long, the group arrived at the central region of the fort. A vast open ground stretched before them. Its surface had been forged from special materials, infused with world spirit power. Judging by its strength, anyone beneath the martial emperor realm would likely be incapable of damaging it. Chu Feng and the others immediately understood. This enormous field-like arena was most likely where the strongest younger generation battle assembly would be held. Around the outer edge of the arena stood 20 mountain peaks. Upon every peak rested an exquisite pagoda, each one seemingly reserved for a single qualified genius. Before them stood a stone stele. Beneath it lay a special brush and a matching sheet of paper. The rules were carved clearly into the stone. Every person who arrived was to leave a name upon the paper, select one pagoda, and illuminate the lanterns inside. The light would warn later arrivals that the pagoda had already been claimed. Chili Pepper and the others immediately looked toward the 20 pagodas. Not a single tower appeared to be illuminated. Joy erupted across their faces.
Chu Feng, you are truly incredible. You brought burdens like us all the way here, yet you still managed to arrive first.
Their happiness was not merely for themselves. They had feared that slowing Chu Feng down would cost him his chance to compete. Seeing the unlit towers, they believed that at least their weakness had not caused him irreparable harm.
Come, write your names.
Chu Feng had already placed his own name upon the paper. He then passed the brush to Xianxia. Xianxia accepted it, but instead of writing his true name, he inscribed the title, Flame Emperor's Successor. Chili Pepper, Big Radish, and Little Radish followed his example. Rather than reveal their true identities, they recorded only their nicknames.
Big Brother Chu Feng, am I really allowed to choose a pagoda of my own?
Of course.
Haha, this is wonderful.
Excitement filled the three companions. The 20 pagodas should have belonged to the 20 greatest geniuses who reached this place, yet they now had the chance to occupy one each. To them, it felt like stepping into a realm that had never been meant for people of their standing. Their joy also revealed how enormous the gap was between ordinary cultivators and the younger generation's true monsters. Merely resting in the same pagodas as those geniuses felt like an achievement beyond imagination. Then, without warning, a low vibration swept across the distant peaks. A pagoda in the distance suddenly erupted with dazzling light. The smiles on Chili Pepper, Big Radish, and Little Radish vanished instantly. Their excitement froze upon their faces as they stared at the illuminated tower. Even Chu Feng narrowed his eyes, surprise flashing through his gaze. They had not arrived first. Someone else had entered the central region before them, and whoever that person was had remained concealed until this very moment. A golden radiance blazed from one of the distant pagodas, cutting through the silent fortress like a beacon in the night. Xianxia raised his head, his gaze sharpening as he stared toward the tower that had awakened before their arrival.
Someone actually arrived before us? Who could it be?
He tried to pierce the distance with his eyes, hoping to glimpse the master of that illuminated pagoda. Yet the tower stood far beyond ordinary sight, and its ancient structure possessed a mysterious power that concealed everything within. No matter how intently Xianxia looked, he could not see even the faintest silhouette. Then the golden light trembled. Two enormous characters emerged from the radiance and hung above the pagoda for all to see. Leng Yu. The instant Big Radish recognized that name. He sucked in a sharp breath. Reverence flooded his eyes, as though the two simple characters represented a mountain that ordinary disciples could only look up at.
Leng Yue is a disciple of the Heavenly Law Palace. More than that, she is the strongest of the palace's 3 heavenly generals.
Big Radish had never personally witnessed the true extent of Leng Yu's strength. However, throughout the Holy Land of Martialism, rumors spoke of her as the only Heavenly Law Palace disciple capable of contending against Underworld Messenger Quang, the strongest disciple of the Underworld Palace. Within the underworld, Palace's younger generation, underworld messenger Quang, was not merely respected. He was treated as an existence approaching divinity, a figure whose name alone could suppress the arrogance of countless geniuses. For Leng Yu to be placed on the same level as such a person revealed the terrifying standard of the heavenly law palace. Her early arrival was not a matter of fortune. It was silent proof that she possessed overwhelming cultivation, perception, or mastery over the trials. Xianxia stared at the glowing name, and instead of showing resentment, he openly acknowledged the gap between them.
Without Chu Feng leading us, even if I had forced my way through the trials alone, I could not have reached this place so quickly. Yet Leng Yue arrived before us. Her strength is unquestionably above mine.
Xianxia yearned to cross hands with the greatest geniuses of his era, but that desire had never blinded him. He understood his own position and knew that even if Chu Feng were excluded, he was still not the supreme member of the younger generation gathered at this fortress. That clarity was one of Yanzai's greatest strengths. A cultivator who underestimated the heavens would eventually be buried beneath them, but one who recognized the distance ahead could continue climbing. His humility was not cowardice. It was the discipline of a true martial genius. Big Radish lowered his head, shame clouding his expression. In his eyes, the time Chu Feng had spent guiding them might have cost him the honor of arriving first.
This is all our fault. Without us slowing him down, Brother Chu Feng would definitely have been the first to reach the fortress.
Chu Feng merely smiled. There was no frustration in his expression, much less blame.
What are you saying? I was the one who insisted on bringing all of you. None of you forced me to do it. Besides, the order in which we arrived proves nothing.
Chu Feng understood that entering first was only a fleeting distinction. The true contest will be decided by strength, judgment, and the ability to endure when every genius finally revealed their hidden cards. A single illuminated pagoda could not determine victory. He waved toward the remaining towers, urging the others not to linger.
Let us choose the pagodas we want before those who arrive later occupy them.
Seeing Chu Feng's relaxed expression, Chili Pepper, Big Radish, and Little Radish finally released the guilt weighing upon them. The three scattered through the fortress and selected pagodas of their own. One after another, their chosen towers erupted with light. Above those ancient pagodas appeared three names that seemed wildly out of place amid such a solemn gathering. Chili Pepper, Big Radish, Little Radish. Chu Feng observed the glowing words and immediately connected them to the registrations they had completed earlier.
It seems the pagodas display the names we previously wrote on the paper.
Yanzai looked from one peculiar name to the next, clearly struggling to imagine how the other contenders would react.
That is most likely the case. Still, their names are truly unconventional. I wonder what the others will think when they see them.
They will probably be baffled.
And that prediction would soon prove more accurate than either of them imagined. In a gathering filled with imperial successors, palace disciples, and monstrous beast royalty, three names resembling ingredients from a kitchen were destined to become an unsolvable mystery. Chu Feng turned toward Yanzai and asked which pagoda he intended to occupy.
Which one are you planning to choose?
Any of them will do.
Chu Feng pointed toward the closest tower.
I will take that one. Brother Xianxia, once you have chosen yours, come and find me. There may be something I need to trouble you with.
Certainly.
Yanzai selected the pagoda beside Chu Feng's. Golden radiance surged upward, and the title displayed above it was far more imposing than the names chosen by the three siblings. Flame Emperor's successor. Yanzai did not remain in his own pagoda to rest. He immediately entered Chu Feng's tower, a bright smile upon his face.
What could be so important that you would ask for my help with such a serious expression?
Chu Feng did not conceal his intention.
I must enter closed-door training for a period of time. While I am training, unforeseen trouble may arise. I want to ask you to protect Chili Pepper, Big Radish, and Little Radish so that no one bullies them. You already know the limits of their strength.
Chu Feng truly intended to isolate himself. He had obtained the golden leaf world spirit flowers, but possessing the treasure was only the first step. Awakening Eggy was far more complicated than simply placing the flowers before her. The spirit formation, containing the golden leaf world spirit flowers, first had to be transferred into Chu Feng's world spirit space. Such a process demanded concentration, control, and time. A single disturbance could interfere with the formation and ruin his efforts. This was not ordinary cultivation. Chu Feng was manipulating a formation tied to his inner world spirit space, a place connected directly to his bond with Eggy. The challenge lay not in brute strength, but in precision. Even a cultivator capable of crushing enemies might fail if his spiritual control wavered for an instant. At the same time, Chu Feng knew what sort of people would eventually fill the remaining pagodas. Every person capable of reaching this fortress would be exceptional, and exceptional geniuses were rarely humble. Many would be arrogant, domineering, and accustomed to treating weaker cultivators as insects beneath their feet. That was why he worried about Chili Pepper, Big Radish, and Little Radish. Their cultivation could not compare with the monsters of the younger generation who were about to gather here. Even while burning with impatience to awaken Eggy, Chu Feng's first concern was the safety of his companion. That choice revealed the difference between him and many proud geniuses. He did not treat weaker allies as burdens to discard after they had served their purpose. Xianxia laughed softly when he finally understood the request.
Oh, I wondered what could make you ask for my assistance so seriously. It turns out you only want me to protect Chili Pepper and the others. Rest assured, since they are your friends, they are also my friends. As long as I, Xianxia, am here, I will not permit anyone to bully them.
I naturally know that you are loyal to your friends. Even so, I still needed to tell you beforehand.
With Yanzai's promise secured, Chu Feng finally set his worries aside. He immediately entered closed-door training, determined to awaken Eggy before the competition officially began. He could have waited until after the competition. There was no absolute necessity to act now. Yet the thought that Eggy might awaken, even one moment, sooner made patience almost impossible. Eggy was not merely a source of battle power to Chu Feng. His urgency came from attachment, concern, and the weight of everything they had experienced together. For him, awakening her was more important than conserving his strength before a gathering of the Holy Land's greatest young experts. Yanzai did not know the true reason behind Chu Feng's sudden seclusion, but he understood one thing clearly. Chu Feng must not be disturbed. Rather than return to his own pagoda, Yanzai remained inside Chu Feng's tower, guarding the entrance and ensuring that no outsider interrupted the closed-door training. Before long, Chili Pepper, Big Radish, and Little Radish also entered Chu Feng's pagoda. They had not come merely to visit. They intended to remain there. Yanzai found the decision somewhat wasteful. 5 pagodas had been claimed by their group, yet all 4 of them were now gathered inside Chu Feng's tower, while the others stood empty. Still, keeping everyone together would reduce the chances of unnecessary conflict. Isolated, Chili Pepper and her companions might become easy targets. United beside Yanzai, they were far less likely to be provoked. Yanzai's decision was strategically sound. Empty pagodas could be considered a waste, but manpower mattered more than territory. In a fortress filled with unknown rivals, gathering the weaker members around a powerful protector was the safest formation they could create. Thus, he did not urge them to leave. As the group settled inside Chu Feng's pagoda, the remaining towers across the fortress began to awaken in succession. Golden lights flared one after another, each announcing that another contender had successfully passed the trials. When the final pagoda was illuminated, the entrances leading back toward the various traps and mechanisms began to close, sealing themselves one after another. The selection was over. Across the fortress, the dazzling names above the pagodas suddenly shot into the sky. They stretched across the horizon like golden banners, displaying the identities of the 20 successful contenders. Underworld Messenger Quang, Underworld Messenger Zhan, Underworld Messenger Gui, Feng Yihao, Feng Erhong, Feng Sanmei, Bailey Xing, Ximen Feixiu, King Monstrous Dragon Beast, Eastern Divine Deer, Golden Peng Clan, Sea Alligator Clan. Most of those names were unfamiliar to Yan Zai. However, Chili Pepper, Big Radish, and Little Radish discussed them nearby, gradually allowing him to understand the terrifying identities behind the golden words. There were 20 places in total. 5 had already been occupied by Chu Feng's group, leaving 15 contenders from outside their party. Of those 15 positions, 9 belonged to disciples from the 3 palaces. 4 had been seized by monstrous beasts. The final 2 were held by Bailey Xing, personal disciple of the weaponry refinement Immortal, and Ximen Feixiu, the strongest member of the younger generation, from the 4 Great Imperial Clans. The distribution alone exposed the power structure of the Holy Land of Martialism. The 3 palaces dominated nearly half the available places, while the monstrous beast clans demonstrated that humanity held no monopoly over genius. Bailey Xing and Ximen Feixiu stood apart, relying upon the prestige of their masters and bloodlines rather than palace backing. Not one of the remaining contenders was ordinary. Every name belonged to someone renowned throughout the Holy Land, a genius whose appearance could stir discussion across vast territory. Big Radish carefully examined the names again. Gradually, disappointment appeared on his face.
There is actually no one from the ancient era's elves. Could it be that none of them managed to pass the trials?
The ancient era's elves had existed since the ancient era itself. Their power was so profound that both humans and monstrous beasts feared them. Their younger generation was widely regarded as standing at the summit of the Holy Land of Martialism. Big Radish was not the only person who had anticipated their appearance. Many contenders had hoped to witness the abilities of those descendants with their own eyes. Yan Zai considered the matter calmly before giving his judgment.
With the strength of the ancient era's elves, if they had participated, it would be impossible for none of them to reach this place. In my view, they simply did not come.
His reasoning was difficult to refute. Failure by a single elven genius might be possible, but the complete absence of their younger generation suggested a deliberate choice rather than defeat. Whatever their reason, the ancient era's elves had remained outside this contest.
That is probably true. Even so, every person who did come is extraordinary. Just imagining this group fighting to determine the final victor is enough to make my blood boil.
Big Radish's face burned with excitement. To him, the gathering was not merely a competition. It was a collision between the brightest stars of the age, an opportunity to witness legends being forged before his own eyes. Chili Pepper curled her lips, completely unimpressed by the terrifying list of names.
So what? Chu Feng is going to defeat all of them.
Her words were dismissive, yet anticipation flickered clearly within her beautiful eyes. She could hardly wait to watch Chu Feng confront those geniuses of illustrious status and defeat them one after another. Chili Pepper's confidence did not come from understanding the full strength of every opponent. It came from what she had already witnessed Chu Feng accomplish. To her, every impossible enemy was merely another person who had not yet discovered how terrifying Chu Feng truly was. Yet the field before him was unlike any ordinary gathering. Leng Yu, underworld messenger Quang, Bailey Xing, Ximen Feixiu, and the monstrous beast prodigies all carried immense reputations. Chu Feng might possess extraordinary power, but victory over every contender would demand more than confidence. It would require him to reveal strength capable of shaking the entire younger generation. While Chili Pepper, Big Radish, and Little Radish discussed the famous geniuses gathered throughout the fortress, they remained unaware of an amusing truth. Those same geniuses were discussing them. The first action taken by each new arrival was to inspect the names of their future opponents. When they saw the title Flame Emperor's successor, surprise naturally arose, but the appearance of such a figure was still within reason. Emperor Gong's successor, the inheritor of an ancient overlord, had already appeared in the world. Thus, it was not entirely unthinkable that the successor of the Flame Emperor, who had once been defeated by Emperor King, would also emerge during this era. But then their gazes reached three other names: Chili Pepper, Big Radish, Little Radish. Exactly what were those names supposed to represent? More importantly, all three had occupied their pagodas before many of the Holy Land's most celebrated geniuses arrived. Their speed through the trials had apparently surpassed disciples of the three palaces, heirs of imperial clans, and royal descendants of monstrous beast races. Could they be personal disciples, raised in secrecy by some hidden supreme expert? Could they be mysterious natural oddities that had cultivated in isolation for countless years before finally taking human form? The irony was merciless. Chili Pepper and the others believed themselves to be the weakest people in the fortress, while the supreme geniuses outside were constructing increasingly absurd theories to explain their early arrival. Chu Feng's protection had unintentionally transformed three ordinary names into legends shrouded in mystery. Perhaps this was the calm before the true storm. Before blades crossed and cultivation erupted, reputation and imagination had already begun their own invisible battle. And for one unforgettable moment, the dragons among men throughout the fortress were united by the same profound emotion. They were completely baffled. Martial God Asura chapter 1777. He really came. Inside the ancient fort, countless hearts swung between anticipation and unease. Beyond its walls, the vast sea of spectators was no calmer. Every gaze remained fixed upon the sky, waiting for the ranking that would reveal which young geniuses had conquered the fort's trials. Then, without warning, a radiant beam erupted above the fort. Light gathered into 20 orderly positions, suspended across the heavens like names carved upon a celestial monument. Beginning from 20th place, one renowned name after another, appeared the Eastern Divine Deer, the Sea Alligator Clan, the Golden Peng Clan, the King Monstrous Dragon Beast, Ximen Feixiu, Feng Sanmei, Feng Erhong, Bailey Xing, and the other extraordinary juniors who had successfully entered the fort.
Incredible! Nearly every person listed is an invited genius, one of the most influential members of the Holy Land of Martialism's younger generation.
Even Ximen Fei Shui is here. Could Chu Feng have come as well?
The question carried a spark of anticipation, but another voice immediately crushed that hope beneath a cold snort.
The Four Great Imperial Clans have surrounded this entire place. Should Chu Feng dare to reveal himself, he would merely be delivering his life into their hands.
As those words fell, many people instinctively surveyed their surroundings, and what they saw was enough to chill the blood. Tens of thousands of warriors from the Four Great Imperial Clans stood in disciplined formations around the fort. Their ranks stretched across the land like walls of steel, sealing every visible path of escape. At the head of those magnificent armies stood the four clan chiefs themselves. Nor were the imperial clans alone. Their subsidiary powers had dispatched elite forces of their own. When all those armies were combined, the number of troops under the Four Great Imperial Clans' command reached into the millions. Yet that terrifying host was merely the strength they allowed the world to see. Their true blades, the finest experts of all four clans, were concealed deep beneath the earth, personally led by the four utmost exalted elders. This was no ordinary blockade. The visible armies existed to intimidate, surround, and exhaust. The hidden experts were the true killing formation, waiting to strike only after Chu Feng had entered the trap. Against such preparation, even an ordinary martial emperor would have reason to tread carefully.
I never imagined the Four Great Imperial Clans would hate Chu Feng this deeply. To capture a single young man, they have mobilized so many elites. Even the four clan chiefs have personally arrived.
A single question began to haunt the crowd. Chu Feng was only a member of the younger generation, so what had he done to force four ancient imperial clans into treating him like a calamity? The scale of this deployment exposed two truths. The Four Great Imperial Clans hated Chu Feng beyond reconciliation, but beneath that hatred lay something even more revealing: fear. Powers that genuinely considered him insignificant would never have gathered millions of troops and four utmost exalted elders merely to kill him. High above the battlefield, the Beitang Imperial Clan's clan chief turned toward Nangong Baidu, who stood beside him.
Brother Nangong, do you truly believe Chu Feng will appear?
I believe he will.
The Beitang clan chief released a faint laugh, unconvinced.
He will? I believe the exact opposite. He dared to enter Mooncloud City only because he knew we had not prepared for him. This time, everyone knows we are waiting here. Chu Feng is no fool. Why would he willingly step into a place where every road has already been sealed?
Although his clan had mobilized an enormous army, the Beitang clan chief believed their efforts would amount to nothing. In his eyes, Chu Feng might be daring, but he could not be foolish enough to walk into certain death.
I also doubt that Chu Feng will come. Even if he approached this place, he has likely sensed our forces and fled already.
The Dongfang clan chief then looked toward the leader of the Ximen Imperial Clan.
Clan Chief Seaman, what is your judgment?
For his own sake, he had better remain hidden. If he appears, I will ensure that he enters this place but never leaves it alive.
His voice was cold and unyielding, carrying the weight of murderous resolve.
I would also prefer that he came. Unfortunately, I fear he lacks the courage.
Nangong Baidu's expression did not soften. His next words came with unwavering certainty.
I believe he has definitely come. You do not understand Chu Feng's nature. After everything that happened before, I have gained some understanding of that child. His courage is extraordinary, far beyond anything you imagine. Furthermore, the mysterious man who wielded the death-kill brush may not be his only supporter. We cannot afford the slightest carelessness.
A trace of seriousness and an unease he could not fully conceal passed through Nangong Baidu's eyes. He knew exactly how dreadful the force assembled here was. 4 imperial armies, countless subsidiary elites, the 4 clan chiefs, and even the 4 great imperial clans utmost exalted elders had all been dispatched. It would not have been an exaggeration to call this the Four Great Imperial Clans' strongest available battle power. And yet, even with such an overwhelming formation, Nangong Beidou could not convince himself that Chu Feng's death was certain, because certain memories still burned within his mind. He remembered the Asura evil spirit Chu Feng had released inside the Nangong Imperial Clan, a terrifying existence whose arrival had turned confidence into chaos. He remembered Mooncloud City, where Chu Feng had defeated the younger generation of all four imperial clans and trampled their pride before the eyes of the world. During both disasters, Nangong Beidou had been forced to watch as Chu Feng humiliated him, damaged his clan, and departed beyond his reach. Despite his authority, he had been unable to stop that young man. Nangong Beidou's fear was not cowardice. It was experience. The other clan chiefs measured Chu Feng by his age and cultivation, while Nangong Beidou measured him by the disasters he had already survived. That difference made his caution far more rational than their mockery. After suffering twice at Chu Feng's hand, Nangong Beidou no longer dared to underestimate him, not even by the smallest degree. Laughter suddenly broke the tension.
Brother Nangong, it appears that Chu Feng has frightened you too deeply. No matter how remarkable his talent may be, he is still merely a junior. Is it truly necessary to regard him so highly?
Indeed, such apprehension is unlike the Nangong Beidou we know.
Their smiles carried open teasing, but Nangong Beidou did not answer in anger.
If possible, I also hope my concerns are unnecessary, otherwise.
He left the sentence unfinished. He had no desire to speak aloud the calamity hidden within that final word. At that moment, more names continued to appear upon the radiant ranking.
Look, 7th place has already been announced. The remaining positions appear to be occupied by disciples of the three palaces. They truly deserve their reputation. Remarkable. Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
The human and monstrous beast juniors have nearly all been revealed. The names appearing next should belong to the ancient era's elves.
The Dongfang clan chief's gaze sharpened. Around him, the restless crowd also fell into expectant silence. Buzz, a flash of light, swept beneath the 6th place position. When the brilliance faded, a completely unexpected name hung across the sky. Little Radish. For a heartbeat, the entire region seemed to lose its voice.
Little Radish? What kind of name is that?
The 4 clan chiefs stared in disbelief. Across the sky and ground, mouths fell open, and bewildered expressions spread through the multitude. Buzz, another light, ignited beneath 5th place. This time, the ranking displayed the name Big Radish.
Big Radish? There are 2 of them?
Before the crowd could recover, the ranking shone for a 3rd time. Beneath 4th place appeared yet another astonishing name, Chili Pepper.
What in the world is happening? Radishes and a chili pepper. Are they trying to prepare an entire dish?
The crowd was rendered utterly speechless. These rankings were not random. They reflected the order in which the challengers had reached the fort. The higher the position, the faster that individual had overcome the trials, and, in most cases, the greater their strength. That was precisely why the absurd aliases caused such an uproar. Little Radish, Big Radish, and Chili Pepper had not merely entered the fort. They had surpassed famous geniuses from the 3 palaces, the monstrous beast clans, and the 4 great imperial clans. Behind those ridiculous names were undoubtedly 3 terrifying young experts. Nearly all the prominent disciples of the 3 palaces and the representatives of the monstrous beasts had already been listed. Everyone had expected the final names to belong to the ancient era's elves, or to some other legendary figure. Instead, the heavens had presented them with vegetables.
Could these be juniors of the ancient era's elves who refused to reveal their true identities and entered under aliases?
It was the only explanation the crowd could produce. Buzz, light surged beneath third place. This time, the words that emerged were neither strange nor amusing. They carried the weight of an ancient legend Flame Emperor's successor.
The Flame Emperor's successor? Could this refer to the Flame Emperor who raised the Yan clan to the pinnacle of humanity 10,000 years ago, and later fought Emperor Qing? Was the Yan clan not hunted by its enemies after the Flame Emperor's death and eventually wiped out? How can a successor have appeared? Could the Yan clan still exist?
Excitement and astonishment swept through the crowd. Compared with the mysterious vegetables, the appearance of the Flame Emperor's successor was the kind of revelation they had longed to witness. The name was more than a title. It suggested that a legacy believed extinguished for 10,000 years had quietly endured. In an era already overflowing with monstrous talents, the return of such an inheritance was another sign that the balance of the Holy Land of Martialism was beginning to shift.
Even the Flame Emperor's successor has emerged. This truly is an unprecedented era. The younger generation has become frightening beyond measure.
Indeed, Simon Feishui, the strongest junior of our four great imperial clans, has only taken 16th place. One can imagine how powerful those ranked above him must be.
The Ximen clan chief's expression immediately darkened.
My son's true strength cannot be judged from this ranking alone. Whether the disciples of the three palaces can defeat him remains uncertain.
That confidence certainly resembles little friend Simon Feishui.
The Dongfang clan chief smiled indifferently before turning the conversation back toward the one name that had yet to appear.
Had Chu Feng come, he should have ranked below the top 10. Even the Weaponry Refinement Immortal's personal disciple stands only in 13th place. Third place has now been revealed. From what I see, Chu Feng truly did not come. Brother Nangong, what do you say now?
Nangong Beidou stared at the final two empty positions. For the first time, uncertainty entered his expression.
That may indeed be the case.
Even Nangong Beidou began to doubt his earlier judgment. Third place had already appeared. No matter how extraordinary Chu Feng might be, could he truly occupy one of the final two positions? After all, when Chu Feng had fought Ximen Feixiu, he had only barely achieved victory. Yet every name revealed above Ximen Feixiu belonged to someone whose performance had greatly surpassed his. By the logic available to them, their conclusion was reasonable. They were judging Chu Feng by the strength he had displayed in the past. What they failed to account for was the speed of his growth, a rate so violent that every old measurement became useless almost as soon as it was made. The four great imperial clans chiefs were not alone in reaching that conclusion. Across the surrounding land, countless spectators believed that Chu Feng had never entered the fort. Disappointment appeared in many eyes. Regardless of how fiercely the four great imperial clans wished to capture and kill Chu Feng, the spectators themselves had wanted him to appear. They had traveled from distant lands for one purpose, to see whether the legendary young man was truly as heaven-defying as the rumors claimed. Now, it seemed that opportunity had slipped away. But at that very moment, Buzz, beneath the second-place position, the light began to flicker. The radiance thickened, spread, and slowly condensed into two enormous words that blazed across the heavens. Chu Feng. For several breaths, silence swallowed heaven and earth. Then the entire region erupted.
It is truly Chu Feng.
He actually came.
And he is ranked second.
Simon Feishui, who once fought Chu Feng, is only 16th, yet Chu Feng has reached second place. Was the gap between them actually this enormous?
Could Shang be even more powerful than the rumors claimed?
Excellent! I did not travel all this way for nothing. There will truly be a great spectacle today.
The sky and earth outside the fort boiled with excitement. Countless voices merged into a thunderous tide, and nearly every conversation centered upon the same young man. Second place shattered every assumption surrounding Chu Feng. It proved that his victory over Ximen Feixiu no longer represented his current limit. While the four great imperial clans had spent their time preparing a trap for the Chu Feng, they remembered Chu Feng had already grown into someone far more dangerous. And for the audience gathered outside, the meaning was unmistakable. The hunted young man had knowingly entered a battlefield, surrounded by millions, yet still seized second place before revealing himself. This was not merely courage. It was a declaration that he refused to let the four great imperial clans dictate where he could stand.
Chu Feng, he really came.
At that instant, all four clan chiefs frowned. The casual smiles, teasing words, and relaxed confidence they had displayed moments earlier vanished without a trace. In their place came solemn expressions, and the cold realization that Nangong Beidu's warning had been correct. They had prepared the greatest hunting net the four great imperial clans could assemble. Chu Feng had seen that net, understood its danger, and stepped inside anyway. The trap was finally closed, but the question had changed. It was no longer whether Chu Feng would appear. It was whether those waiting to kill him had truly prepared enough. The revelation that Chu Feng stood in second place sent a wave of excitement through the gathered tens of thousands. Yet, as the first surge of astonishment faded, every face turned toward the distant horizon once more. If a monster like Chu Feng could only claim second place, then what kind of heaven-defying figure stood above him?
Chu Feng is ranked second, then who could possibly be ranked first?
A deep buzzing tremor rolled across the sky. Beneath countless, concentrated gazes, two brilliant words slowly emerged: Leng Yu.
Leng Yu, it is Leng Yu, the disciple of the Heavenly Law Palace.
The crowd erupted in surprise. Leng Yu was no obscure junior who had risen by chance. Her name had long resounded throughout the younger generation, carrying the weight of talent, status, and unquestioned strength. The experts of the Heavenly Law Palace immediately revealed proud smiles. In contrast, the people of the Underworld Palace frowned, their expressions darkening as though a layer of frost had settled over them. Those from the Mortal King Palace were not quite as dejected, but neither could they celebrate. The three palaces shared equal fame, yet a disciple of the Heavenly Law Palace had seized the highest position. Among powers that stood shoulder to shoulder, the glory of a junior was never merely personal. It reflected upon the dignity of the entire faction. Leng Yu's victory had elevated her palace, while quietly humiliating the other two. While the multitude remained absorbed in Leng Yu's name, four groups of figures silently merged into the vast crowd. They were the clan chiefs of the four great imperial clans, each leading elite troops selected from within their clans. Their intentions had already been decided. Had Chu Feng remained absent, they would have allowed the matter to rest. But now that he had appeared, they would not permit him to leave alive.
Move into position. Since Chu Feng has come, he must not leave this place alive.
This was not a rash decision, born from anger. The four great imperial clans had hidden themselves among tens of thousands, precisely because they understood Chu Feng's danger. They wanted numbers, concealment, and the perfect moment. Before the official contest had even begun, a net of death was already tightening around him. Within the fortified grounds, the assembled geniuses were still wondering about the identities of Chili Pepper, Big Radish, and Little Radish, when a violent whistle tore through the air. A figure shot from one of the pagodas like a meteor cast down from the heavens. He crossed the distance in an instant and crashed to the ground before Chu Feng's pagoda. The sudden arrival drew attention from every direction. Doors opened, silhouettes emerged, and the occupants of the surrounding pagodas turned their gazes toward the disturbance. The newcomer was a handsome young man, but there was no warmth in his features. Cold aggression surrounded him like sharpened ice, and his emotionless eyes appeared even more frigid than before. He was Ximen Feixiu. With a metallic cry, Ximen Feixiu drew the heavenly immortal sword and pointed its blade directly at Chu Feng's pagoda. Frosty wind exploded from the sword. Visible streams of cold air surged forward like packs of savage beasts, surrounding the pagoda and battering its walls until the entire structure began to tremble. More shocking than his hostility was his cultivation. Ximen Feixiu was no longer a rank 5 half-martial emperor. He had broken through and stepped into the rank 6 half-martial emperor realm.
Chu Feng, Ximen Feixiu have come here for you and no one else. Since you dare to appear, I will defeat you with my heavenly immortal sword and erase the disgrace of my previous loss.
Resentment thundered through every word, yet beneath that hatred lay overwhelming confidence. Ximen Feixiu believed his breakthrough had changed everything. In his mind, it was impossible for Chu Feng to have advanced just as quickly. His confidence was built upon a simple calculation. Their previous battle had already been close enough to scar his pride, and one additional cultivation level should overturn the result. Yet Ximen Feixiu measured Chu Feng by ordinary standards, never considering that Chu Feng's rate of growth had never obeyed ordinary logic. The watching geniuses immediately understood what was happening. This was no casual dispute. Ximen Feixiu had come to reclaim his honor before the finest members of the younger generation.
So this is a battle of revenge. Interesting.
Figures appeared atop the surrounding pagoda, each one extraordinary and imposing. Some even brought out prepared snacks, settling in as though they were about to witness a grand performance. Most had missed the earlier clash between Chu Feng and Ximen Feixiu. To them, witnessing the defeated challenger return for revenge was nearly as valuable as watching the original battle. Outside, the spectators were entertained. Inside Chu Feng's pagoda, however, Big Radish and Little Radish felt their hearts tighten. As disciples of the underworld palace, they knew exactly how formidable Ximen Feixiu was.
This is bad. Why would Ximen Feixiu challenge Chu Feng before the competition has even started?
Do not be afraid, remain here. I will go out and face Ximen Feixiu.
Xianxia transformed into a streak of light and flew from the pagoda. The instant he appeared, the aura of a rank 6 half-martial emperor swept outward like a blazing tide, crushing the freezing pressure that had engulfed Chu Feng's residence. He descended before Ximen Feixiu, drew the fire dragon emperor spear, and leveled its point at his opponent.
A man already defeated by brother Chu Feng still dares to behave so arrogantly? You may challenge Chu Feng, but first you must pass through me.
Ximen Feixiu's expression sharpened. The stranger before him possessed the same cultivation level, and the pressure radiating from his body was anything but ordinary.
Who are you?
I am Xianxia, successor of the Flame Emperor.
So you are the Flame Emperor's successor. I wondered what sort of extraordinary figure you might be, but you are nothing more than Chu Feng's lackey.
Enough nonsense. Either fight me or leave. Everyone is already watching, so stop making a spectacle of yourself.
Only then did Ximen Feixiu glance around. On top of every pagoda stood a remarkable figure, each carrying the bearing of a dragon among men, a child blessed by the heavens. All of them had emerged to watch. A faint curve appeared at the corner of Ximen Feixiu's mouth. This audience was exactly what he wanted. He had chosen this moment, so the greatest geniuses present could witness Chu Feng's inferiority with their own eyes. For Ximen Feixiu, victory alone was not enough. His previous defeat had become a public wound, so his revenge also had to be public. He wanted witnesses, not merely to defeat Chu Feng, but to rewrite the judgment of the entire younger generation.
Very well, I will eliminate you first, and then I will eliminate Chu Feng.
Ximen Feixu struck without further warning. Cold rays flashed across the sky as the heavenly immortal sword transformed into a murderous streak of light, piercing through the air toward Xianxia.
Humph.
Xianxia attacked at the same instant. The Fire Dragon Emperor spear roared forth, colliding head-on with the heavenly immortal sword. Explosions shook the heavens one after another. Both men wielded in complete imperial armaments, and their techniques changed with astonishing speed. Sword light and spear radiance tore across the battlefield, each collision powerful enough to shake the blue dome of heaven. Ximen Feixu possessed an imperial bloodline. Xianxia possessed a divine body. As the two unleashed their full strength, neither could immediately suppress the other. Their equality was rooted in two different sources of power. Ximen Feixu relied upon the inherited majesty of an imperial bloodline, while Xianxia drew upon the unique divine power of his special constitution. Their weapons, cultivation levels, and combat talent were closely matched, turning the battle into a contest of endurance, control, and the depth of their foundations. With a furious shout, Ximen Feixu released his imperial bloodline. Violent winds scattered the clouds, golden light flooded the sky, and his cultivation surged from rank 6 to rank 7 half-martial emperor. Xianxia answered without hesitation. Purple flames erupted around him in a raging sea as his divine power awakened, likewise raising his cultivation to rank 7 half-martial emperor. Both had revealed their trump cards, yet when sword and spear clashed again, the balance remained unbroken. 2 hours passed, then 4. At last, 6 full hours had gone by, and Ximen Feixu and Xianxia were still locked in battle. Neither showed any sign of yielding. Judging from the situation, victory would not be decided through a sudden flaw or a single superior technique. One of them would first have to exhaust his stamina. Yet with their cultivation and reserves, such exhaustion might require several days and nights. By then, the strongest younger generation battle assembly could already be over. Continuing would therefore be foolish for both men. Even victory would come at the cost of depleted strength, damaged weapons, or hidden injuries before the true competition began. In a gathering filled with monstrous rivals, winning one private battle could easily mean losing the greater war. Suddenly, one of Ximen Feixu's attacks missed. He used the opening to retreat, drawing a wide distance between himself and Xianxia.
I am done fighting. The one I came to find is Chu Feng, not you, Xianxia.
Xianxia also withdrew. He had no desire to prolong a battle that could ruin his condition before the official assembly. Since Ximen Feixu had ceased attacking, Xianxia had already achieved his purpose. Even if Xianxia could eventually defeat Ximen Feixu, the price would outweigh the reward. Thus, he lowered his spear and allowed the confrontation to end. Ximen Feixu, however, had no intention of leaving quietly. Unable to reach Chu Feng through force, he turned his words into blades.
Chu Feng, you have truly disappointed me. I once believed you were a man, yet now that my cultivation has increased, you do not even dare to face me. Remember this. You may hide now, but you cannot hide forever. Even if you cower inside that tower like a turtle today, you will still have to fight me tomorrow. I will prove that your previous victory over me was nothing but luck. You will never defeat me a second time. From this day forward, I will crush you beneath me and make everyone understand that you, Chu Feng, are inferior to Ximen Feixu. I will show you the true disparity between us.
His insults continued without restraint. Though he had abandoned his battle with Xianxia, he refused to let Chu Feng escape without suffering humiliation. Chu Feng still did not appear. Gradually, uncertainty entered the hearts of the spectators. Could Ximon Feixiu's accusation be true? Had Chu Feng won their previous battle through luck alone? No, that Ximon Feixiu had broken through. Did Chu Feng no longer dare to face him? The legendary Chu Feng, could he truly be nothing more than a cow? Ximon Feixiu's strategy was beginning to work. By controlling the story before Chu Feng appeared, he transformed silence into apparent fear. In the martial world, reputation could shift before a single fist was thrown, and the doubt of the crowd was already becoming a weapon. Then, without warning, an explosion thundered from within Chu Feng's pagoda. A boundlessly powerful oppressive might erupted from the tower and surged into the heavens. The expressions of every genius present changed at once. The pressure spiraled across the sky like an invisible, bloodthirsty beast overlooking helpless prey. Its cultivation aura was unmistakable, a rank 7 half-martial emperor. The vast oppressive might suddenly condensed into a single point. In the next instant, it transformed into a rainbow-like beam and descended upon Ximon Feixiu with crushing force.
Humph!
Ximon Feixiu brandished the heavenly immortal sword and unleashed his strongest attack. Sword power surged upward to meet the descending pressure head-on. It was useless. The oppressive might shattered Ximon Feixiu's strongest attack, as though breaking through fragile glass. It continued downward without losing momentum and smashed him violently into the ground. His clothing was torn apart, blood covered his body, and more than half of his flesh had been destroyed by that single burst of pressure. The proud challenger who had fought Xianxia for 6 hours could not withstand even one direct release of Chu Feng's oppressive might. The dragons among men, standing atop the pagodas, inhaled sharply. Their earlier amusement vanished, replaced by disbelief. The answer was obvious. The owner of that oppressive might possess heaven-defying battle power, capable of surmounting 4 levels of cultivation. A rank 7 half-martial emperor who could overcome opponents 4 cultivation levels above himself, represented a completely different category of power. Ximon Feixiu's imperial bloodline allowed him to temporarily rise to rank 7, but Chu Feng's combat strength extended far beyond his visible realm. Their cultivation appeared equal, yet their true battle power was separated by an abyss. At that moment, a figure flew from the pagoda and descended steadily before the ruined Ximon Feixiu. Every eye brightened. The newcomer was none other than Chu Feng. Chu Feng looked down at Ximon Feixiu's blood-covered, broken body. There was no sympathy in his gaze, only calm certainty and the faint curve of a smile. Ximon Feixiu had demanded a public verdict, and Chu Feng had given him one. After 6 hours of boasting, challenging, and reshaping the crowd's opinion, his entire declaration was overturned in a single strike. The most terrifying part was not merely Chu Feng's victory, it was how little effort the victory required.
Do you understand the disparity between you and me now?
The battlefield had fallen silent, yet Chu Feng's calm voice struck harder than any martial skill.
Do you understand the distance between us now?
Those words shattered the final trace of pride within Ximon Feixiu. Already grievously wounded, he felt rage surge through his veins until his blood seemed to boil. A mouthful of crimson blood burst from his lips and splashed across the ground. Steam immediately rose from it, as though even the earth could not endure the heat of his fury. Chu Feng's words were invisible blades. They had not cut Ximon Feixiu's flesh, but they had pierced the arrogance buried deepest in his heart.
Impossible! Your cultivation was beneath mine. How could you have reached the same realm so quickly?
Ximon Feixiu could clearly sense Chu Feng's cultivation. His disbelief was not born from ignorance, but from refusal. He could not accept that the opponent he once stood beside had already stepped beyond him.
Did I not already tell you? This is the disparity between you and me.
Chu Feng lifted one hand and closed his fingers in a casual grabbing motion. Boundless suction erupted from his palm, sweeping across the battlefield like an invisible tide. The heavenly immortal sword tore free from Ximen Feixiu's grasp. At the same instant, the cosmos sack hanging from his waist flew through the air and landed securely in Chu Feng's hand. The surrounding spectators stared in astonishment. Chu Feng had not merely defeated a genius of the Ximen Imperial Clan, he had publicly seized the man's treasures before countless witnesses. This was more than robbery after victory. By taking the sword and cosmos sack openly, Chu Feng was stripping Ximen Feixiu of status, dignity, and authority. In the martial world, such humiliation could leave a deeper wound than defeat itself.
What are you doing?
Ignoring his ruined body, Ximen Feixiu forced himself upright and lunged toward Chu Feng, desperately reaching for the heavenly immortal sword. Chu Feng raised one leg and unleashed a merciless kick. The impact hurled Ximen Feixiu across several tens of thousands of meters before his body crashed violently into the distant ground. The fall worsened every injury he had already suffered. Ximen Feixiu lay amid the shattered earth, no longer possessing even the strength to stand. Once, in Mooncloud City, Ximen Feixiu had been capable of contending with Chu Feng. Now, that former balance had vanished completely. Cultivation had widened the gap, but the true difference lay in their rate of growth. Ximen Feixiu still measured strength by yesterday's standards, while Chu Feng had already transformed into someone his former rivals could no longer understand. Chu Feng casually swung the heavenly immortal sword, laughter carrying through the air.
It is bad enough that the Four Great Imperial Clans act so despicably, yet you, Ximen Feixiu, overestimated yourself and dared to provoke me in public. I have taken only your heavenly immortal sword, not your life. You should be thanking me for allowing you to live. Chu Feng, return my heavenly immortal sword. You are not qualified to wield it. Wield it? The sword is decent, but compared with my evil god sword, it is far inferior. I never intended to use it. I merely planned to exchange it for something useful. You intend to sell my heavenly immortal sword? Chu Feng, you are courting death. The Ximen Imperial Clan will never let you escape. You speak as though the Ximen Imperial Clan would spare me if I had not taken your sword. The entire Holy Land of Martialism already knows how your clan conducts itself. Stop humiliating yourself before everyone here.
With that, Chu Feng turned away. Ximen Feixiu continued shouting insults behind him, but Chu Feng did not grant him so much as another glance. That indifference delivered the final blow. Hatred requires recognition between rivals, but Chu Feng's refusal to look back declared that Ximen Feixiu was no longer worthy of being called his opponent. Across the surrounding pagodas, countless eyes remained fixed upon Chu Feng. Murmurs of praise spread through the gathered experts.
That Chu Feng is truly extraordinary. For Ximen Feixiu to encounter him as an adversary, what terrible fortune.
Yet from one pagoda came a cold and mocking sneer.
He must have used those lightning powers to increase his cultivation by 2 levels and reach rank 7 half-martial emperor. Even so, he is still not the strongest person here.
The speaker was Bailey Xing, the personal disciple of the weaponry refinement, immortal, a man Chu Feng had encountered before. For reasons unknown, Bailey Xing's eyes were filled with unmistakable hostility. Chu Feng's perception was exceptionally sharp. The instant that hostile gaze settled upon him, he sensed it and turned toward its source. When he discovered that the hostility came from Bailey Xing's pagoda, his brows rose slightly in surprise. Back on the immortal island, Bailey Xing had appeared overwhelmingly powerful. At that time, The difference between his cultivation and Chu Feng's had been so great that they could scarcely be compared. Now, Bailey Xing had advanced from rank 5 to rank 7 half-martial emperor in an astonishingly short period. Even so, his progress remained inferior to Chu Feng's. What puzzled Chu Feng was not Bailey Xing's cultivation, but his hatred. The two had no known conflict, and Chu Feng could find no reason for such intense hostility. Bailey Xingha noticed Chu Feng looking toward him. Instead of concealing himself, his cold smile widened. Contempt soon joined the hostility in his gaze. He did not merely dislike Chu Feng. He looked upon him as someone beneath consideration. Chu Feng answered that contempt with a faint laugh. He did not know what had provoked Bailey Xing, but neither did he fear him. Bailey Xingha believed himself superior because he was measuring Chu Feng through an outdated impression. Yet Chu Feng had already reversed their former positions. Each man looked down upon the other, turning their silent exchange into the opening move of a future confrontation. Chu Feng shifted his attention to the other pagodas. Before the true struggle began, he needed to understand the strength of every potential rival. What he discovered exceeded his expectations. 4 representatives stood for 4 separate monstrous beast clans. Every one of them possessed the cultivation of a rank 6 half-martial emperor. According to the information Big Radish had previously provided, the Underworld Palace's Underworld Messenger Gui and Underworld Messenger Zhan should both have been rank 6 half-martial emperors, while Underworld Messenger Quang should have been at rank 7. But the 3 experts standing upon the pagodas had all advanced. Underworld Messenger Gui and Underworld Messenger Zhan had both reached rank 7 half-martial emperor. Underworld Messenger Quang was even more formidable, a rank 8 half-martial emperor, whose cultivation stood above Chu Feng's current level. The Underworld Palace's sudden advancement showed that Chu Feng was not the only genius growing at a terrifying pace. Raw cultivation alone already placed Quang above him, meaning Chu Feng could not afford to judge the coming contest by reputation or past intelligence. The 3 Feng family siblings appeared slightly weaker by comparison. The second brother and third sister were rank 6 half-martial emperors, while only their eldest brother, Feng Yihao, had reached rank 7. Yet none of them shocked Chu Feng as deeply as Leng Yu, the strongest heavenly general of the Heavenly Law Palace, and the woman who had reached the center of the fortress before him. Leng Yu stood cold and detached. Her appearance was not breathtaking, yet an extraordinary presence surrounded her, separating her from everyone nearby. Like Underworld Messenger Quang, she possessed the cultivation of a rank 8 half-martial emperor. However, the aura within her body was vastly more unusual. Chu Feng faintly sensed that Leng Yu might not possess heaven-defying battle power, capable of surmounting merely 3 cultivation levels. She might possess battle power, capable of surmounting 4 levels. If that judgment was correct, Leng Yu's effective combat strength would rival Chu Feng's own. Her superior cultivation, combined with 4-level heaven-defying battle power, made her far more dangerous than an ordinary rank 8 half-martial emperor.
It seems Leng Yu will be my strongest rival.
Among all the geniuses gathered here, Leng Yu was the first person Chu Feng treated with genuine caution. That alone reveals how oppressive her hidden strength must have felt. Their eventual clash promises to be decided not simply by cultivation, but by techniques, judgment, endurance, and who can conceal the greater trump card. At that moment, 2 streaks descended from the sky and landed directly before Chu Feng. They were 2 men with completely identical appearances, twins. both possessing the cultivation of rank 7 half-martial emperor. These were the other 2 heavenly generals of the heavenly law palace.
Chu Feng, we brothers have heard your name for a long time. After witnessing you today, your abilities truly are as extraordinary as the rumors claim. After seeing your display just now, our hands have grown somewhat restless. Would you be willing to spar with us?
Their faces carried bright smiles, but beneath those smiles lay malicious intent. This was no friendly request for pointers. The twins had approached with another purpose. By arriving together, the twins were already revealing their strategy. They possessed equal cultivation, identical appearances, and likely exceptional coordination. Their advantage would not lie in individual superiority, but in forcing Chu Feng to confront 2 synchronized rank 7 half-martial emperors at once. Chu Feng regarded them with an easy smile. Though both men were powerful, he did not place either of them in his eyes.
Are the 2 of you challenging me?
Precisely.